this, you're going to see us adding new features pretty consistently now through the next 2 quarters of the year, because we've got a pretty hefty development calendar in front of us about the things that we're adding, some of these with partners that we have coming, and calling programs that you're going to be hearing more about. I'll kind of tease you also on that. Next week on our call, we're going to be joined by the group that is putting our new ISA program together with us and talking about how that's going to work, because it's a super new program, and we think that's very, very cool. And we think it's something that you're going to enjoy. And so we're looking forward to that, but that will also be fully integrated within the CRM as far as the ability to push data into that program and have it become updated by the ISAs as they put the system back in and as they make those calls for you, putting all that information back in. Idea here is to automate your business as much as possible, maximizing your return on your investment, and then going forward, helping you grow your bottom line revenue and earn more commissions and more sales revenues from both the agent standpoint and the investment standpoint. So we're going to be excited to hear back from you as well. I think it's also key that the process will work this way. We're going to basically shut the system down, because to migrate it, we're literally migrating almost a decade's worth of data to an entirely new data structure and all of that. So we've been spending countless hours testing our migration processes. Now we've got to turn it live. So it'll take a long time to migrate all that data from, the way it looked before to go into a new database structure. You won't see so many differences in the way that maybe it appears to you, but it's an entirely new database. So a lot of that is the migration process. Once that's done, we'll turn it back on. You can click to log in and you'll have a new CRM. And so that's a pretty cool program, and we're super excited about doing it. We've kind of delayed it till, we hope we've gotten it as right as it needed to be to put it out there. And we're excited to show it to you. So that's kind of where we're at. We're very excited about this. We're hoping you're going to be as excited about it, and we look forward to your feedback.
And Tim, I'll give you some pre-feedback before it even comes out, if I may. And I think this was the reason for the last delay, but our sales team has been using the click to dial feature for a few weeks. And I have heard 100% of them just say they've never realized how much time they wasted, looking from their screen to the phone and back and forth. And they've all commented, I see Steve shaking his head, a lot of other people, they've all commented just how much easier, how much more seamless, and how much more efficient they've gotten on their sales calls using the click to dial feature. And that's one of the dozen. Yeah.
Super. And I appreciate that. That's a very good point. And, there are a lot of dialers that are out there that you can, spend money and go pay for. And in general, you're working lead by lead. So, it allows you to take the time that you need to focus on familiarizing yourself with the person that's going to get ready to answer that call by looking at the data that you have on them, and then you just click the number and you're off to the races. If you're not using a headset at this point, you probably ought to go find yourself an inexpensive headset to plug into your USB port on your computer. Think about using it that way, and our support staff will help you figure out how to make sure that whatever your provider is, as far as your phone service, you can make your click to dial functionality work. And we'll certainly work with you to make sure that's nailed up for you. So we're looking forward to all of those things in terms of getting this information to you. And more importantly, I'm begging you, give us some good feedback. We really want to hear the feedback. It's important to know that. And I think we need to hear not only that we're not just looking for good stuff. We want to hear if we've missed something, if we've, done something that you don't like. We haven't taken any features away. We've enhanced everything that's there, but we want to make sure we get it right. And like I said, we've got a big development calendar in front of us. So this is the first step in doing it. Now that we've got this platform, it'll be far easier for us to roll new features and functionality out. We got a lot of cool stuff planned. So, we're not out there trying to create the next new Salesforce. We're creating a tool that will help you maximize your return on investment using what you've already done. That's what we're all about. And if you have any questions or want to comment, let us know.
Well, it definitely is exciting. I mean, right now I use my dialer, and then I got to switch back and forth between my dialer and the CRM that I've been using. So it sounds like it's going to be very helpful to have everything integrated into one system. I mean, it also sounds like currently I'm breaking apart my leads. I get my CSV file, and then I break them apart into two different lead sources, out of state personal representatives and Nevada for me. And then I got to load them all into the dialer, and I also have to load them all into the CRM. So if that's already done, you save me one day out of the month or 2 days out of the month where I'm like, now I got to do this again. I get through it, and it's not that big of a deal after I've done it so many times. But when you first have to start dealing with that, it's really difficult, and it takes a lot of mental capacity to get your head around it and to figure out how to do it. So that's exciting that we don't have to do it anymore. As far as the CRM, when people tell me they're not using the CRM, it astounds me. Basically, I'm like, you're bringing a knife to a gunfight. Like people that have a high level CRM who can send out video texts, who can send out have campaigns set up. It's very hard to compete with those type of people. And as I'm sure all of you guys know, like you always get emails from the luxury agent that shows you those beautiful houses, right? That we all follow certain agents in our market. They're using a CRM to send you those luxury listings, every week, right? So you're basically a consumer for their information that they're sending out. So we want to flip that script where you're sending out the information, and other agents and consumers are looking at what you're sending them. So, I mean, I could just go on and on about CRMs, all day, and I may, but definitely I want you guys to ask questions. If you have questions, please, chat them in. This is always about you guys. We love to hear the questions, but while we're waiting for some questions, I mean, basically, one of the things I do with my CRMs or CRM is if I have 5 different clients I'm working with, which definitely is the case sometimes, I can have I basically open 5 tabs, and I have each client up on my dashboard. And as emails come in, and as I'm processing different portions of the transaction, appraisals, addendums, whatever it is, then I'm taking notes for each contact. That way I stay very organized very easily with my CRM, right? Because a lot of times we're like, oh, are we on addendum 1 or 3, or we don't know. But I use my CRM to basically, again, as a transaction management coordination tool, which is really helpful. That actually speeds me through my day. And again, in addition to the extra campaigns that I have a initial campaign for my leads. I have a video campaign, and then after I talk to somebody, I have pre-made templates, so I can basically have them ready, which has my Zillow links and some of the information, my probate website. So after I talk to somebody, I can just send that out to them immediately and customize it a little bit just so they know that, this is not just the templated email. I refer back to the conversation that we had, but, the CRM just does so much and makes it so much more convenient to do this at a very high level.
Hey, Ken, while you were talking, just to clarify, Ron from California asked what the cost is for the CRM. Again, guys, this is free. If you're getting leads from us, it's included.
Yeah.
And there are some CRMs out there that I don't think are any better than this. That they're charging as much for the CRM as we are for the leads. So it's a huge value. If you're actively getting leads from us, the CRM is going to be included for free. We just want to clarify that.
Well, and at EXP, the CRM's included with what we pay, but we're paying, a $16,000 cap. Right. Right. So, So you are definitely paying for that. They say it's included, but you are paying for that. I mean, my understanding that you can get KV Core outside of EXP Realty, but that's going to cost you about $6,000 a year. And it's well worth it if somebody wasn't providing you with an excellent CRM, for free for the cost of your leads, which again, I'm a huge advocate. The leads are amazing. I got a text today from one of the coaching students. She got her first listing today. So I'm excited for her. I asked her to come on the podcast and share her success. But I'm regularly doing 2 or 3 deals a month. So, and that's partially because I have the CRM.
Perfect. I don't see any hands up yet, guys. I see a lot of chats going on. Tim, do you see any questions in the chat?
I just want to make a couple of quick comments. And,
Yep.
I want to point out, and, not picking on Ron at all, Ron's been with us for a while. And, one of the things that, as any company does, we do the best we can to make sure that we get lots of information out. And sometimes, we put enough of it out that eventually I think people stop paying attention to the info that we put out. And, the CRM has been there the whole time. I think that it's important for you to realize that certainly I'll just beg you to do something over the next 90 days. Pay attention to the emails that are coming out. If you kind of see our emails and go, oh, they're just letting me know there's a mastermind call coming up, or, they're just putting out their normal, stuff that comes out and all that sort of stuff. And Kristen will get with you in just a second. Just putting all that information out there, and, I don't need to pay particular attention. Be aware that we're going to put a lot of information out in the next 90 days about new things that are truly going to be important to you and important to the information that we're putting out there in regard to the new structure. So it's important that you realize all of the info that we're putting out there is not just, PR for the company. We're trying to make sure that we're delivering on our promise to you of offering value. And I think it's important to realize that if you're not watching what we're doing, you're going to miss stuff that you're already getting as part of what you're paying for. So it's important. It's real important to do that. And, trust me, to at least for the next 90 days, pay attention to our emails. And I think it's probably, I'll just throw this out there now as well. One of the things that you may have been following is that we are going to put our newsletter out starting on Monday as via email. And, we've offered you the opportunity to name the newsletter. We've gotten some real interesting folks that have offered us information back about how we should name it. And if you haven't gotten your entry in, we're going to be deciding literally over the weekend while the CRM's down. We got a group together, and we've got literally a whole bunch of names that have been offered. Some of you are very humorous. Some of you are very interesting. Some are very introspective. But if you have a last minute entry you'd like to put in, you want to throw your hat in the ring for an extra $100 worth of credit, send an email to nameit@alltheleads.com, and we'll be happy to consider you as a last minute entry into the system. But again, please pay attention to our email. George asked a question directly about, will the new system allow you to cancel your Ring Central account? Well, we're not furnishing you a phone service. We're furnishing you the ability to link your phone service to your dialer. The click to dial uses any of the phone services that are out there, whether it's your cell phone provider that you're normally using, or whether you have a digital provider such as Ring Central or Dial Now or any of the myriad other ones that are out there. All of them will provide the ability for a click to dial functionality. We're just going to enable it for you within the system. So no, don't cancel your Ring Central account, because we're not furnishing you a phone service as part of the system. We're enabling you to work with the phone service that you have now. And that's what we're doing. We use Ring Central now in our company. We literally in the last 90 days, we moved from a hard physical system to a virtual dial system. And we had been with Ring Central a long, long time ago using handsets. And we got out of the hardware business and moved to a virtual system. So I think it's important to know that, we're going to enable making all of this work. And anyway, Kristen, I see that you have your hand up, and We certainly want to take your question. I appreciate your patience. I'm going to ask you to go ahead and unmute yourself, and we'll take your question.
Hi, Kristen.
Hi, Ken. So yeah, I'm the new member that Ken had mentioned. I just got started last month, and anyways, I got my first listing, which I'm really excited about.
Yay.
And what I, yeah,
Bravo.
yeah, it's a good one. And what I'm surprised at is going through my calls, how many people already have a realtor and are so much further along in the process. I was a little bit surprised about that. So I'm considering the pre-probate leads, but I'm just not sure how to work those since we don't know who the executor is at that point.
Right. Well,
So
I do want to say, I mean, we do want to make the distinction between, they're talking to another realtor or they've actually signed a listing agreement with another realtor, because that's a huge distinction. I have a person, I'm pretty confident I'm going to get them as a client. They told me they had a realtor. I was like, oh, okay, continue the conversation, found out the home had some fire damage. So I basically told her I have investors that specialize in fire damaged homes, which I do. And then I also told her I have a contractor here in Las Vegas that I work with that's doing a flip for me. So I sent her my personal invoice, so she'd have the information for the contractor. Then I talked to her again. I followed up. I sent her some, the letters and some other information. Followed up with her again. She's coming into town today to change the locks on the house. I said, well, why, may I ask why are you doing that? I thought you said you were working with an agent, because I'm in the process of changing locks on another client's house. And I'm also in the process of cleaning out their yard and getting out some of the trash that was left in the house from the tenant. So am I going to get that client? I can't say 100%, but I would say very high likelihood that yes, I will wind up with that client, because the other realtor's just waiting back and sitting there waiting for the lady to be like, hey, I'm ready to list. I'm proactively reaching out to her and being like, hey, what do you need? I got it. How can I help you? Let me take that off your plate. So
and
again,
yeah, this lady did have a realtor. It was the same thing. I mean, I was shocked when I pushed in. She told me a few things that she wasn't happy. She hadn't signed anything. But she had been,
in my
yeah.
opinion,
So
realtor.
yes, she had. I asked her if she had signed anything, and she said no. But he's already been to the property several times. But I'm not happy with him because he said my house needed to be power washed. It was going to be $6,000, and so I feel like he's up to something, and so there was some doubt there, and I went right in and met her and got a signed listing. So you're right. These few others that I called, I should have pushed more. These were more like people who had like family, quote unquote, realtors, like ones they had used for multiple transactions. I think those are a little harder to make headway with, versus this lady. She never worked with this realtor before. And but yes, I did go in and I was able to turn that one around. But you're right, the mindset, I should have been a little bit on those few calls that I made today, but it was the same thing. These were people that they'd worked with, not the same thing, but these were people they had worked with before and had an existing relationship with. But going forward, if I want to get to the front of the line doing pre-probate, and I think you said, Ken, that you were doing those or thinking to do those.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
called some pre-probate leads. Yeah, I mean, I've had mixed results. I mean, basically the probate leads are so good, it's almost like I don't have a chance to get to the pre-probate.
Okay.
But I always
Okay.
approach them. But yeah, first to the point, yeah, you definitely want to kind of always find the holes, acknowledge,
Okay.
oh, you have a
All
realtor.
right.
Oh,
Yeah.
I got it. Oh, I understand that you're starting to build that relationship. But
Yeah.
may I ask you, does the home
Mm.
need a lot of work or is it in perfect condition?
Okay.
Boom, there's your in right there. If it needs work,
Okay.
hey, I have cash investors, I have contractors, hey, I have clean out crews. Hey, I can change the locks out for you. You know, essentially like whatever they need, if you can find something that they have to do and the other realtor hasn't stepped up because they're kind of being lazy, and you can get in there and get into action, then you're going to win the vast majority of the time.
No, that's great. That's great. I mean, that's probably what I needed to hear. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean, essentially, I will
Right.
get off the phone immediately with somebody if they're yelling at me, because I will never allow someone to ruin my day. But if somebody's still talking to me and they're like, "Oh no, I have a realtor." Oh, awesome! Hey, that's so great that you found somebody you trust. But let me ask you a question. You know, because now you're still having an interaction, and now you're just finding out, is there something that you can provide to this person that the other realtor hasn't stepped up? Maybe they're so secure in their position that they're not going to take the extra steps that I'm going to take. Right.
Okay.
I mean, again, this lady coming into town, she's like, "Oh, I have to change the locks and put security cameras." Oh my God, well, why didn't you tell me? I would have done that for you. By the way, is there anything that needs to be cleaned out of the home? So anyway, so you get that. But with the pre-probate leads, uh, like Jim said, I'm always playing detective, right? I'm always doing the Columbo method. Oh, hi, Mary. Yeah, this is Ken Blumberg. Yeah, I'm kind of playing detective today. My understanding of you or maybe somebody in your family inherited a home on 123 Main Street. Do I have that right? So many times when I get somebody on the phone, they go, "Well, actually, I didn't inherit that phone. It was my brother, my sister, my uncle." Okay, fantastic. Can I get their phone number? Sometimes they'll give me the number, but many times they won't. But as you know, all the leads provides multiple leads, multiple numbers and multiple names. So if they don't give me the name, that's fine. But they gave me the information that it's, John or whoever is going to be the personal representative. So then I obviously start dialing through my numbers to try to reach that person. And then the approach is the same. I'm playing detective, you know, just be curious and
Yeah.
helpful. And
Yeah, I have a lot of nurtures as well. I'm getting like a lot of husband-wife situations where one or the other has passed away and they're not ready to move yet. And I asked them like if there's anything I can help them. And one lady said, oh yeah, I really have all these documents that need to be shredded. I'm realizing like UPS charges a lot of money to get shredded. And I said, oh no, Loudoun County has 2 free shredding events a year, and she didn't know about it. And I sent her that information, and she was just like, again, I've already built that relationship with her, and I'm texting her and helping her. She may be a year out, but how are you dealing? Majority of the leads, probably 50%, have been like a husband-wife situation. And again, I know eventually these people might move to be closer to family or downsize. But how are you managing like situations like that when you call?
well, number one with the shredder, depending on how many documents, I would have been like, well, let me come over with my shredder and we'll handle it right there on the spot.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
Why not? I mean, you're going to invest an hour into this person who's going to then, in turn trust you
Right.
and be like, "Oh
Yeah.
my God, like I never suspected that you would run over to my house with your shredder and shred those documents." She's going to be like blown away. I mean,
Okay.
Tim, I had a comment, but I know you had your hand up first. Do you want to go first?
Well, I want to add that we need to make sure that we do a really good job of helping everybody understand what literally are the differences between probate and pre-probate. And I think that's an important thing to note. They're both dealing with the same thing. There's been a death. And let's talk real quick about how we acquire and put the data together for the pre-probate side. So we first begin with notices of death, whether that's legal notices in local newspapers, information coming from legacy.com, funeral homes, all that. There are lots of different sources that do that. There's also a national list that's maintained by the government that we have access to. So once we find that that's happened, and literally it's immediacy, it literally is notifications that we've received, in some cases, pre-probate data that goes out in the first of a week, would have information on someone who passed away on Friday. If it made the notices by that time, it'd be very fresh. And we dig in, we look at that information, we then run it through a massive augmentation process where we go out and we try and skip trace as best we can the heirs to the person who passed away. We also look into the person who passed away to determine if that person seems to have owned property anywhere, not just in their local marketplace, but anywhere around the country, so that we have that and as much info as we can about that data. That's at which we put that together as a list for you. The key difference there is that it's not gone to probate, hence the name pre-probate. So at this point, the family, may still be reeling from the loss that they've received. So you have to approach it completely differently. You're dealing with, people that in most cases we've given you, they are the immediate heirs of the person who passed away. It's not a, somewhat dispassionate third party who's trying to settle the estate. It's a key person in that person's life. So you very, very much have to approach that in a very, very compassionate way. You can't walk in the door and basically, and I mean virtually walk in the door. You can't start the conversation by, "Hey, I understand your father passed away and want to know if you want to sell the house." That's the worst possible way to do it. So we want to be real careful about what we're doing there. But when we originally conceived of the pre-probate product, our thought was, well, this would be a great product for investors because investors want to do that, get in early, make a cash offer, potentially deal with the immediate cash needs that a family may be experiencing when the breadwinner dies. So there are lots of very good opportunities, and we kind of look at that as low-hanging fruit. Certainly still that is a very viable reason for it. But it also becomes a way to get in early and offer some of the services that we've encouraged you to put together on your team for probate. And Ken does a great job of basically putting all those things in his hands and walking in with this great big basket of wonderful things that he has the ability to offer to people that he can do anything for them. And most of our successful folks are doing that. We call it the, wheel of probate, where we've got all these different things that we can offer to our customers to do that. And they both are applicable, whether it's probate or it's pre-probate. But pre-probate is certainly one where you're going to be dealing with rawer emotions in most cases. So you have to be very careful about the way that you put all your information out there, that you state it correctly, and that you make people feel real comfortable with the fact that you're literally not out there, as they call it, hearse chasing, because that's not the way to do it. And we want to make sure that you're doing it in a way that makes your potential customers love you and care about you because you're literally showing compassion for their needs. And that's kind of a soapboxy way to look at it, but kind of wanted you to know that. And Jim, you wanted to say something, and Coley, we'll get right to you. Jim, go ahead.
Yeah, and to answer Eric's question, yes, as Tim just said, it starts with a notice of death. It's basically, and we go from there. I actually wanted a two-part answer to your question, Kristen. As Tim said, one of the other reasons we developed pre-probate was in some markets, our agents were telling us that the investors were extremely aggressive and they were calling people within days of the death. So we wanted to give them an option to compete with those other investors. The one thing I would say to you, should you do probate versus pre-probate, if you've got, if your bandwidth is, if you're getting a good quantity of probate leads and your bandwidth is pretty full, like Ken said, work those. That's good. That's going to be the even lower hanging fruit. If you do decide to add the pre-probate, it's not either or. I would do both because it's really two different opportunities to reach the people. And then kind of a combination, I wanted to answer your question or give you an opinion on the surviving spouse that is just not ready to do anything yet. I would add them to my sphere of influence. When I was an active agent, I would call every past client and everybody I knew every month and just say, "Hey, how you doing? You know anybody looking to buy or sell?" And I would just treat them like a past customer. If there's absolutely no reason they need you now, call them once a month or whatever your bandwidth allows for, and just keep in touch and be there when the situation arises that they do need you. That's
Great.
it.
Yeah,
great.
but like Tim said, and I didn't go into it on this call, but as most of you probably know already, I mean, I'm all about actually finding out how the person is doing, who they lost, what their relationship was like, get very personal with them, or at least that's what I prefer to do. It doesn't always happen. They don't always allow me to, but I get very personal with them. I'll share very deep things about my mom and my dad and my relationship with my parents, you know, very openly and candidly. And you know, a lot of people are saying, you're the only one that spent some time with me. You're the only one that asked me how I'm doing. You're the only one that asked me about who I lost. So, like Tim said, always come with respect, always come to understand the relationship first and foremost. Again, you know, the lady that I'm listing her house now, and I'm changing out the locks and the carpet right now. You know, her dad died in a motorcycle accident. He got hit by a drunk driver, and the probate took about a year because there was a criminal case involved. But I made that strong of impression on her that when she was ready, she reached out to me. So yeah, always be compassionate.
Well, that's an interesting thing. ABC, always be compassionate. That's a great idea. You just
Good,
invented
good
that yourself.
acronym.
That was good. Hey, Cole, we've been waiting patiently. Let's hear what you have to say there, buddy. I ask you to unmute. Go ahead.
Hey everybody.
Hey, man.
So I'm working with a public administrator and he's willing to connect me with the county as a vendor. And he's requesting that I provide information about the service that I offer. He mentioned that the county was seeking air hunters. So I'm not a realtor, I'm an investor, so I don't want to put like real estate sales down on this information form. So I'm wondering what should I put down for the service such that the county will accept me as a potential vendor.
I misunderstood one thing you said. They were the county's looking for what?
Air hunters, so looking for missing heirs for
Air
estates.
hunters. I got it. I got it.
Yeah. Hmm.
That's a picture. And is that something that they put out a solicitation for?
No, when I happened to talk with the public administrator, he had mentioned that the county was looking for that, and he was all about connecting with me, forwarded my website and everything. And now he's saying like, okay, I'm going to transfer your information over to the county to see if they'll accept you as a vendor, approve you as a vendor. What is the service that you offer? And I'm not sure how to really phrase it or word it such that they'll accept me as a potential vendor because I'm not a realtor and I'm somewhat of an air hunter, but not particularly the service. I'm trying to buy the house, of course.
Is it something that, I mean, it sounds like if they're going to make you a vendor, that it would be something that they would pay you for. Is that the way you feel that it is?
Potentially, yeah.
Well, I think my first request is clarify what they're looking for. And what I mean by that is ask them if this is a compensated service.
Hmm.
Because if you don't know that, if you know the answer to that, it will determine how you answer his question. Because if it's a compensated service, then they literally want you to help them go make sure they've run down all the errors to make sure, you know, they're working against liens and judgments. That's the only reason that they would care, right?
Hmm.
So, you know, you do have, if you're a subscriber and you're certainly a pre-probate subscriber, you have access to the information that we provide, and we're going to give you, you know, a good solid list of those folks, and what you do with that's your business. So you may want to find out if that's something that they're looking for and how that process works with your county that you're in. Other than that, I think that's really probably the vendor side of it. That'd be the only piece of that I can think of that you'd want to go put up there is, yes, I can help you find the heirs. And you know, what's the bounty on each one of the heirs and what are you going to do with them? I think you need to learn a little bit more, turn the question back at them rather than trying to answer it without enough info. Does that make sense?
And
Absolutely.
Coley, I was going to add to that if I may, depending on their answer, whether it is a compensated service or not, grab our Wheel of Probate brochure and just say, hey, I'll help you find them. Then once I find them, I can provide all these other services. It's an add-on value. I mean, maybe they'll care about that, maybe they won't. But depending on what they're looking, are they, if they're just looking to get to that point where you find them, fine. But if they have other applicants and you're going to get to that point and then actually help these people, you know, it may put you ahead of the competition. It might enhance your resume.
Hmm.
And it
You
doesn't
know,
matter whether you're a realtor or you're an investor. The
no,
issue
you
is
can, yeah,
you've got access to that data and you've got access to a group of people that can help folks that are doing it. And if the county cares about that, like Jim said, that could be an additional, feather in your cap to say, I really am serious about this. I built this great team to do it. And just chasing down errors is certainly not the only thing, that we do. And that's kind of important. So it'd be good for you to know that. Just real quick before we go forward, and Dan, I saw you had your hand up. I'll get to you in a second. Rob asked a question about affidavit of death often doesn't get filed with the county until they sell the home. Having to do with the county, can't tell you whether that is or isn't the case in your county. It's often different in terms of each county, whether the county is aware of the death or not. Typically, it depends on taxation and who's paying the tax bills in a county. Counties are typically pretty well aware of, when people are moving on and off the tax rolls in that county. But the affidavit of death, that's a legal requirement. When someone passes away, that death has to get memorialized. That's a kind of a, part of our societal norms that if someone dies, the coroner is going to be made aware of it in the county, and that notice of death gets filed. That's how all of this starts. It goes to Social Security Administration. It goes to the federal government for, federal tax, all of that. That starts a big process that, it's why people's mailboxes start to fill up when somebody passes away. And so I submit whether or not the county is making its own records, public records, aware and showing it online. The county has been made aware of it. At least the taxing administration within your county has done that for sure. So I'm assuming that's probably the case. And Dan, I saw you had your hand down up and then you took it back down. I'm going to ask you to unmute if you wanted to ask us a question there, bud.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna quickly ask, back about the pre-probate leads and probate leads. You said, if you're busy with probate leads, then keep busy with them and don't worry about the pre-probate stuff. And I've heard a lot of people talk about, pre-probate leads being, maybe a little kind of give you a jump on people, right? They're maybe a little more lucrative. You have any feeling on that? Would you just do pre-probate leads or would you just do probate leads?
My answer to that's real simple, and it depends on you getting some experience with both. I would always say you need to get probate leads, and Ken said the same thing. Get very busy with those. They're excellent. They have great information, and for sure that those are leads that there's that fuse that's been lit already. It's in probate. So something's going to happen with it. If it's in probate and there's real estate in it, something's going to happen with that real estate. Typically, that's the case. Pre-probate is definitely a way to get to the customer quicker, potential customer quicker. It is less deterministic because there's no single person. You don't know even if any of the heirs are going to turn out to be the personal representative, but it allows you to get in the game early. So my advice to you is test both of them. Certainly keep your probate side, but subscribe to pre-probate. And it sounds like I'm, give us more money. Well, obviously we put it out there because it feels a good product, but try it in your local market. Every market is different. And it literally depends on how the information goes through your courts. How long does it take for probate to get processed through your courts? You may find an immediate gem within the pre-probate stuff. In addition to that, I'll just kind of add this as something we don't talk about very much, but you're also exposing yourself as a service provider to a whole bunch of people as opposed to one person. And in the case of probate, you're working pretty much exclusively with that personal representative. In pre-probate, you may be working up with 5 or 6 family members, and it's a unique opportunity to present yourself to them in a very positive light. They may have property to sell. They may have property unrelated to the probate or to the death, or they may be looking for a realtor. They may be looking to move. And make sure that when you're talking to them, you got your act together and you're ready to tell them all about the things that you do. But again, lead with value. What better way is there to, as Ken says, talk to their hearts? Ken, you were talking. I'm just wondering, I imagine every Valentine's Day you send a lot of cards out because you're one of the most compassionate people that I know. And I think, you're like the exemplary poster boy for making sure that you're approaching this in a very positive and, caring way. And you bare your soul to people and it works well for you. So it is the Columbo approach, but certainly you do it well. I appreciate that. But I don't know if that answered your question or not, bud.
Yeah, well, the other thing with Dan's question is the pre-probate leads offer the opportunity to find somebody who doesn't have an attorney yet, and then you can build those attorney relationships, right? I mean, if you had somebody you interacted with, you work with them on a probate listing, they were the attorney, and that's somebody you want to, have a stronger relationship with. Hey, I have a great attorney I want to refer you to. And once you set that up and that attorney sees that you're starting to actually now go out and bring them business, I mean, it's human nature to want to reciprocate. And that's really, again, with building the emotional relationship with somebody, it's reciprocation. They see that you really do care about them and you're interested in their life and who they lost and that relationship. That brings them closer to you and they want to reciprocate. They want to stay connected with you. But that's that. To me, that's one of the biggest advantages of pre-probate. Again, you find somebody that doesn't have the attorney relationship, and that puts you in the driver's seat. Maybe it will take a little bit longer to actually sell that property, but the relationships you could build with the attorneys are obviously, huge. And that is probably the highest level of this game, having those relationships with the attorneys.
Yep. And a couple other questions that have popped in. Somebody asked who the person was at the county that I think Coley was talking about. And I think Coley, in your case, that was the public administrator that you were talking to that was looking for somebody to act as a vendor to help with air searches. And they may or may not be doing that, Tammy, in your county and in your area. So, you'll have to kind of dig into that. Actually, it's like every call we do, that's a new one. I'd not heard of that one before, that a county was actually looking for that. And, it may be something that is a coming thing. Counties may more and more be looking for that, and certainly worth some conversation if you're at the courthouse or if you're talking to public administrators. Just say, hey, I'm part of a big real estate group. And one of the things that we were talking about last time, one of our members was being asked if they could help with air searches. Is that something you guys look for? Is that something I can help you all with? Particularly if you have access to that information. And Dan, back to the other point that was just made, if you're already getting probate and you have the ability to do this and you decide to add pre-probate to it, the beauty of that is you can sort your probate list by the attorney. And once you get that, you see who those attorneys are that are handling the most cases in family law and are acting as personal representatives or working with personal representatives. Now you've got all these heirs that you're going to be presenting to, and you could potentially offer them the service of recommending them to them. It's a great way to get in the door to talk to that attorney and say, hey, last month I talked to 612 heirs in our county from people who've just passed away, and I'm always looking for great attorneys to recommend because most of them haven't secured the services of an attorney to help with the case. Is that something you'd be interested in talking with me about? Great way to get into the door of talking with an attorney.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing is, again, I get about 200 leads a month, and I'm doing most of my phone calling. So I have called the pre-probate lead, and I've had some success there, but I haven't called them nearly as much as I would prefer. But I think that also goes back to what Tim was saying, that they're going to start putting some ISAs on, inside sales agents. Even though I do actually enjoy my phone calls, I really do. Because again, I control the whole scenario. If somebody is angry or gets mad at me or starts yelling at me, hey, goodbye, wrong number. And I just be patient and wait for the good conversations to come. But it still takes time. It still is usually a 2-hour call session. So the ISA, if you do want to expand your business, start looking at these ISAs, get the pre-probate leads and put the ISA on the phone with those pre-probate. I would say continue doing your calling because it's important, but you can add another pillar with pre-probate through the ISAs.
Great.
Yeah,
and
good point. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. And Alyssa just shot me something over that came in on the social media side. And Jack had pointed out that he's doing great with pre-probate and doing really well. He says they're very lucrative. And the thing that he's doing is he is doing phone call and direct mail directly to the decedent, to the person who passed away, because he's correct in saying this. Somebody's picking up their mail, somebody's answering that phone. And certainly in the immediate aftermath of the death, that's going to be the case. So I think that's something that, like I said, it's a great call for us to learn stuff on. I think one of the things that we need to add as a letter template is exactly that, is the ability for our folks to send mail directly to the decedent's address with a nice packet of information about that. Good place to start for sure. And that's something we'll definitely take on. Lisa, if you'll make a note of that, I want to make sure we get that letter together and put that out there. So anyway, last question I saw that popped in here. Rick asked if there are FCC or other restrictions affecting calling clients. Yes, there are. If you're a realtor, you certainly probably can get that information directly through your broker, and your broker will tell you what you should and shouldn't do in your market. From the investor side, same thing. But the law is called the TCPA law. If you look up TCPA, you can find it. We also have a copy of all that information on our website to provide you with all the information that you need to know. Also, as far as your leads are concerned, we go through all the leads that we have, and every phone number that we do, we determine whether or not the person has specified that they are or not on the do not call list. And so we work with those with that data to make sure we give you that information. And then it's up to you to decide what you choose to do with the information that we get. Increasingly, more and more people are on the do not call list. It's a dramatic increase in the last even 6 months. I can also assure you, with the upcoming election cycle that we're going to be in, a lot of people are going to put themselves on the do not call list, hoping and praying it's going to cut down the inbound volume on their calls. Unfortunately, it won't, because political calls are exempt. That's one of the things that TCPA doesn't cover. If you're calling on behalf of a legitimate client, look out, the phone's going to ring. But you're going to see a massive increase in the number of people that are on DNC. So we're careful about it. We give you the information, and we will certainly not encourage you to break the law, but we will tell you that you need to reach out to your clients. And we also know that one thing that isn't a problem with that is direct mail, which is why we developed the significant expertise that we have in using direct mail. Folks, we're near the top of the hour. Actually, we just hit it. Any last minute questions, you can raise your hands. I'm going to ramble for about 2 more seconds and look for a hand to come up. If not, I'm going to kick it over to Jim. And Alyssa, do you have any last minute things we need to touch on before we go?
Yeah, just a reminder for those of you who weren't here at the top of the call, our new CRM is launching this weekend. Our downtime will be starting tomorrow evening at 8 p.m. Tomorrow morning, an email will go out just reminding everybody of that. And in that email, you'll be able to find information about the new CRM, reiterating, all of the new features, and there'll be some demo videos there as well, so that while you're waiting for the launch and while the CRM is down, you have something to occupy your time and kind of get a sneak preview at what's to come. So stay tuned, watch your inbox, and we're excited.
Well, great call as always. I appreciate it. And Jim, why don't you give us a quick summary and kick us out the door, buddy?
All right, everybody. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. I want to particularly thank Kristen and Eric and Coley and Ken and Dan and everybody who actively participated. I want to remind you, come talk to the ISA company that we've been referencing. It's not our company, it's not internal, but it is a company that we are highly confident that will give you great service. And I'm always encouraged on these calls. We rarely have a call that goes by that we don't get a new idea, we don't learn something, and we appreciate all of you for bringing that to the table each and every week. And finally, I just want to encourage you, take one of those new ideas you heard on the call today, go on it and put it into practice, and please come back next Thursday and share your results with the group. Have a great week. Same time next Thursday, everybody. Take care.